Welcome, folks. I'm Jaby Koay, joined by SYNTELL Koay.
Yo, what's cracking?
We're looking at a new Rockstars video. This one's a couple days old as of this recording, but I thought it could be fun to look at anyway because I enjoy new Rockstars breakdowns of Spider-Man No Way Home. This is called Spider-Man No Way Home Green Goblin Plan. So thank you, new Rockstars, for allowing us to react to this. Very, very much appreciate it. Y'all, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, bell icon, all notifications, and vote this up to let YouTube know you're enjoying what you're watching. Also, follow SYNTELL with the intel at youtube.com/SYNTELL. All right, let's jump into this.
New Rockstars, I'm Eric Voss, and Spider-Man No Way Home's newest trailer gives us our best look yet at Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, the great Willem Dafoe joining the MCU, because you just can't keep this guy out.
Out, am I?
And despite other returning villains getting some MCU upgrades, when it comes to Goblin, No Way Home went back to formula! Except with one quick shot late in the trailer that appears to show Goblin unmasked. Now, it's hard to make out his face, but many are asking, is this even the same Norman Osborn Green Goblin? Well, upon discovering some new clues in this trailer, I think this distinction between the apparent two goblins, one mask on, one mask off, will actually be crucial to the biggest twists of this movie and subvert the assumptions that many of us have about No Way Home. So the release footage so far presents at least 3 sequences that Norman Osborn will play a big role in. He attacks the bridge from his glider, fully suited up, cackling and tossing pumpkin grenades. He also appears during the nighttime Statue of Liberty battle, unmasked with razor bats. And we can assume this is the same night because there is a full moon, and the shot of Peter landing on the Statue of Liberty shows that same full moon. And then thirdly, although we don't see him, it seems like Goblin will play some important role in the attack on this building. And based on that truck parked out front, this is likely Feast, the homeless outreach organization where Aunt May and Peter work. And we saw Peter desperately running through the Feast cafeteria in his black suit in the first trailer, where he pulled off his mask and asked the staff where someone is, totally freaked out, as if someone was suddenly hitting him close to home. But now in this trailer in the Feast lobby, we see Peter lunging after a Green Goblin grenade. Another shot shows green fire exploding and burning on fuselage outside, and Aunt May can be seen emotionally running toward the door of this lobby, holding some metallic cylindrical object with some subtle green glow, perhaps a vial of Oscorp's serum. So I think it's safe to assume that the unmasked shot of Goblin on the glider at nighttime is definitely supposed to be Willem Dafoe. Like, I know his face looks younger, bit smoother, but there's clearly some motion blur going on here. They probably used VFX to animate him on that glider anyway, but still, the nose and chin are unmistakably those of Willem Dafoe. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible that this movie brings back other goblins from the Spider-Verse, like Harry Osborn Goblin James Franco or Harry Osborn Dane DeHaan. I just don't think they would reveal them here like this in this shot. And also, part of me believes that those goblin cameos might take away from Willem Dafoe's return, or just remind us how, in most fans' minds, they really paled in comparison to the GOAT.
You know how much I sacrificed?
So this movie really doesn't need them. Still, I find it interesting that Goblin is masked when he attacks the bridge, but then says screw it and goes maskless with only flight goggles in the battle in the final act. Every other new villain...
It's entirely possible that, you know, he just loses his mask in a battle of some kind, right? I mean, and he just continues on.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible.
I can see that.
I don't think that they're bringing in the other goblins. I mean, maybe it's possible because it's opening up a gateway to a whole bunch of unprecedented stuff. And so maybe, you know, others show up, but I don't think so. And I don't think Disney wants to touch James Franco right now.
Well, that's the big thing, is the James Franco thing. And then also the screen is already full. Like, we've got like 5 villains or something like that, 5 or 6 villains. That's just way too many on screen. And now you're talking about different variations of just one particular villain on top. That's just too much. It's going to be just one, and it's going to be Willem Dafoe.
With only flight goggles in the battle in the final act. Every other new villain Spider-Man faces in this film, it's harder for them to hide their faces. Like Doc Ock and Electro have no masks. Lizard and Sandman are less subtle monstrous forms that you can tend to see coming a block away. But as we saw in Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man film, Norman Osborn actually parallels Peter Parker in that he tries to go about his life with a secret double identity. One of my favorite scenes in that movie was the Thanksgiving turkey carving, in which Norman first figures out that Peter Parker's Spider-Man from the cut on his arm, but Peter still doesn't know that Norman is Goblin, and Norman panics and rushes out. Actually, in that movie, even after his death, Norman's double life as Goblin remains a secret known only to Peter Parker, which was his dying wish to Peter.
Don't tell Harry.
Harry Osborn didn't learn the truth until the end of the second film. So secrecy and deceit is key to this version of Green Goblin. And I think that's going to play a huge role in the second act of this film. How Norman becomes involved in Feast and why he totally stops caring about masking himself in the final act.
What do you mean?
I didn't realize just how deep the secrecy of Green Goblin was. And if he does come back, maybe he still wants to, maintain that type of secrecy. And then who knows, maybe as the movie progresses and then, it doesn't matter about secrets anymore because you're trying to, save the day or kill Spider-Man. He just says, F it and reveals himself.
Gotcha. Death of Goblin. Don't tell Harry. It was so abrupt. I told you, man, you go back and watch those and there's some silly stuff.
First for No Way Home that speculate that Norman Osborn may pose as a homeless resident at the Feast Center, and that would explain Peter's frantic cafeteria sprint in the first trailer. Someone who he had seen every day is actually the same guy who's trying to kill him. And if you think back to Far From Home, that movie's opening act did spend a good amount of time focusing on the homeless outreach efforts by Peter and Aunt May and Happy Hogan, who brought in a huge check from Stark Industries signed by Pepper Potts. I think all of that was going to set up some tragic irony of this movie if all of those efforts end up just getting exploited by Norman Osborn as a way to get close to Peter and to his loved ones. So that shot of Aunt May running through the lobby with the green object, you can see some red and blue lights flashing on the walls, suggesting police and media have already arrived on the scene, and this might be some kind of hostage situation where Sandman and Electro are fighting to keep all the police and media busy in front of the building while something else is happening inside the shelter. Aunt May could be a hostage rushing out of the building with some kind of deadly object, like a vial of nerve gas, to try to get it away from all the others. And a special thing.
What are your thoughts?
The breaking down of police lights on the wall, I wouldn't have even thought about that. And then combining it with all of the mayhem that's going outside of the building, and then you see the other frame of the Sandman. It's just like, wow, okay, you really did connect those dots, and that really does make sense. I don't know if it'll hold up. I see all those dots connecting, so it's just, well done. You're a master at your craft.
Exactly.
Yourselves, because many believe that Aunt May might die in this film, and it's a very alarming possibility, especially since she appears in this feast lobby where Peter's now lunging for the pumpkin grenade as it explodes.
I was wondering about that.
We might be able to relax because in this shot and another shot, Peter's face already looks bruised and ashy, frazzled hair, as if this is after some explosion happened. And then patting his chest when he's also in that post-explosion look is a woman who is wearing rings, whose hand and hair also look like they were in the vicinity of an explosion. And in the shot of May running, she wears these same rings. So I think it's safe to say that Aunt May survives some explosion at least. And when Peter jumps for the grenade, there's
the level of analysis in each shot to piece together who's alive and who's not, dude. It's down to the ring and the hair and oh my, whoa, it's wild.
Yeah, I think Aunt May is going to die. I think that's probably going to be one of the big costs for him telling the world or pretending the world that he's not Spider-Man. It's got to be something big, right? We've already been kind of partially hinted to that his girl does the fall and we hope that he snatches her up before she cracks her skull. I think because they gave us that, it's probably not going to happen. I think he's probably going to save her. And I think it probably is going to be Aunt May. He has to have some massive cost in order for him to tear up the timeline like this. We didn't really see his Ben die, right? No. So it's probably going to be Aunt May. That's what I'm guessing.
All right.
Some rubble on the ground, and outside behind him on the building, that overhang has already collapsed. So let's try to put this all in order. There's a shot of a green explosion. Looks like it's a car bomb or some car getting bombed, and this happens first in front of the building. Based on the surrounding debris, I'm pretty sure that's going to be an NYPD patrol car because in the wide shot, the other DODC backup has not yet arrived. So NYPD car bombed, that explosion collapses the overhang, the rubble fills the lobby that Aunt May was running through. That could have been the explosion she survives. But then this already damaged building gets hit again with a second wave of a pumpkin grenade that Peter now lunges for. So really the question is this specific shot of Aunt May with her hand on Peter's chest before that second pumpkin grenade gets tossed in, making her still at risk? Or is it after, meaning she could have survived it? I'm also pretty worried
before,
about Happy Hogan,
I'm guessing
because we've
before.
only seen one shot of him in both trailers, sitting in a car as DODC SWAT laser scopes past him and approach that bombed out lobby. It makes it look like he's pretty terrified that May might be dead in this moment. But who knows? He could also be the target of the car bomb. I will say, when I first saw that green fireball, it does look like the shape of a person in the center of the fire. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty insane for this movie to go that freaking violent. Now, yes, you may remember that Green Goblin also bombed Aunt May's home in the first Raimi film.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
Remember that? It was terrifying, but we should note.
It was hilarious. It wasn't terrifying.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. Evil.
Yeah, it's terrifying back then. It's hilarious now. That did not age well.
Oh, no, it did not. There's been some great memes from that, too, man. Evil. Yeah, man, he's got to go for Aunt May again. Please. That needs to happen. I'm with that.
Goblin did not kill Aunt May in that movie. I mean, who knows? He may not have cared either way if he killed her, but at the end of the day, the movie did not bury Aunt May. So for Goblin to now bomb a homeless center means that this guy has turned irredeemably homicidal and cruel. I think far more than the other villains, this guy is in the movie to test Peter Parker. We actually hear Willem Dafoe's voice croaking,
Peter, you're struggling to have everything you want while the world tries to make you choose.
almost like he is rasping these words as Peter has his hands around his throat, which Peter could only do if Goblin's helmet was off, at which point Goblin wouldn't care because showing his face to Peter is part of his sick game. That's right. I'm the guy you handed a plate of food to. And now, misery, misery, misery. That's like Goblin is forcing Peter to choose.
That was great. I like that.
Become the killer they say you are, or give up trying to save anyone at all. This is why I think it's going to be so important to have older Peter Parker mentors to help Peter make the right choice. Support New Rock.
That's crazy. I thought it was going to be Happy Hogan that goes.
Nah, not on this one. Nah, I think it's got to be Aunt May, man. It has to be. He hasn't had like a big, gigantic loss outside of Tony.
That's a pretty big loss.
That's a pretty big loss.
That's a pretty, I mean, I think that'll last you a couple more movies. He's got 3 more to go.
That wasn't a defining moment for him.
Yes, it was.
Just a big, heavy loss.
No, that was defining.
Was?
Yeah, it was pretty
How?
defining. It was very integral to the beginning of Far From Home. The heavy weight of Tony's legacy on him, and like,
okay,
you know,
you're right.
Yeah, there was the whole plot with the glasses and everything like that. He wasn't ready for it, and then he had to take the glasses back. I think that's going to play a role in this movie for sure. It's got to come up.
So you think that Tony was his Uncle Ben moment?
I think that's as close as we're going to get to it. I do wonder what conversations will come of young Spider-Man talking to the other Spider-Men, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. There's a huge assumption that our Peter Parker's going to learn from them. So
I'd hope so.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and so I'm very curious about that. Like, you know, we've seen a lot of crazy spectacle, epic set pieces, action, but the conversations between them actually intrigue me more than anything. Like, what is that going to look like?
Do you think Tobey and Garfield die?
No, I think they go back to their universes.
I think one of them dies. I don't know which one. One of them got to go. There's too many. There's too many Spider-Verses.
I hope it's not Andrew Garfield. He only got 2 solo movies.
I'm willing to bet it's probably going to be Tobey. Kill the original dude, you know?
Right, the Han
Dust
Solo.
him off and be done. Yeah, I mean, and besides, like, DC is already taking that plunge and killing off old characters to make way for the new. Like, during the Flashpoint series, there was a lot of different versions of Flash that didn't make it. Actually, there was a lot of folks in Flashpoint that died as far as, like, the TV show goes. I don't think Marvel has gone the extra step. I mean, taking out Tony was a big deal, but I think you can take out one of the multiple Spider-Man. What do you need them for? I mean, what does Marvel care? That's a Sony property.
It just depends. It depends on when they're introduced in the story. If they're not introduced until late, then it would be better to have more movies with them, like at least one more movie. If they're introduced early enough and you get enough of an adventure, like Into the Spider-Verse, then you could kill one of them off.
It's already been released. I forgot what the executive at Sony said, that they are planning to do another trilogy, another Spider-Man.
Yeah.
trilogy.
I think that it's actually more likely for Andrew Garfield to go because he lost someone. Like, he sacrifices himself in saving MJ.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You can still market Garfield a little bit. Like, there is no more star power with Tobey.
Are you kidding me?
Unless he's just the wily mentor. You know, like he's the full-blown mentor.
I don't think Vin Diesel has any star power until you put him in a car. And then he's got a lot of star power. The Fast and Furious movies keep making $1 billion at the box office. Well, except for the last one because, you know, what's his name opened his mouth in China. But generally speaking, the Fast and Furious films, John Cena, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. But generally speaking, the Fast and Furious films always make money, and you can't have it without Vin Diesel. It's like he's not bankable otherwise, but he's very, very bankable with Fast and Furious.
No, but I'm just saying, but when you think about Spider-Man, you don't think about somebody that's in their 50s. Like, he's really old. Like, he's really old. Tobey Maguire's got to be in his late 40s at the earliest. I say he's like 48.
46 years old.
46, yeah. You have a 46-year-old Spider-Man? The only way I could see it is if he lets go of the mantle, which is part of the Spider-Man lore.
Yeah.
Peter Parker does let go of the mantle,
Yeah.
and then he coaches up Miles. But even that version of Spider-Man is considerably younger than this one. I just don't see how that plays.
I don't mind having an old Spider-Man. I'm cool with it. I like having old folks in there. It gives me hope.
Well, you know what? Kind of make him go out kind of like how they did Logan. Logan was a really good movie. It was real serious.
Yeah.
You know, have a cool little, like, you know, moment with that.
Yeah.
With him, maybe.
Y'all, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Make sure to follow SYNTELL with the Intel, youtube.com/SYNTELL, @SYNTELL on Instagram. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon on notifications, and please vote this up to let YouTube know you enjoyed what you watched. I am Jaby Koay. This is
It's your boy.
Peace out.